Hey guys, this is Stacy from eatthebite.com, and today we're making beef and cheese empanadas. These are a real crowd pleaser and taste great on their own or with your favorite toppings. Let's get to it. We need to dice one medium onion, put it in a bowl, and set it aside. Next, we'll take one green poblano pepper, cut it into strips, and then dice it into small pieces. We'll also put that in a bowl and set it aside for later. I took a bunch of scallions and chopped those down, including the white part, to set aside for later as well. I also like cilantro as one of my toppings, so I chopped about a half a cup and set it aside. You'll need 2 pans for this, one to cook your ground beef and the other for the onion mixture. While the beef starts cooking, add olive oil, salt, and pepper to your onions and cook it for a couple of minutes. Next, you'll add 1 can of pigeon peas. You want to stir that around until it's well blended. Then we'll also add the diced poblano pepper. Mix everything together until it's well blended. Now it's time to give the ground beef a good toss around the pan while using a wooden spoon or spatula to break up any clumps of meat that are stuck together. You'll need to break up clumps of meat continuously while the beef is cooking until it's cooked all the way through. I like to add the adobo seasoning at this point, making sure to sprinkle it evenly over the top of the beef. Then give the beef another good stir around the pan so the adobo is incorporated well. And again, press and chop the beef to break up the clumps. And now we are ready to add the onion mixture. What you want to do is pour it on top of the beef and then stir the mixture until everything is well incorporated. And after that, we'll add some sofrito sauce to this mix. Sofrito is a delicious tomato sauce with a wonderful seasoning of onion, garlic powder, and other spices that adds a lot of flavor to the beef mixture. And I do always add a little at a time and give it a taste to make sure it's the right balance. You can add more or less depending on your preference. And now we've got to get ready to assemble our delicious empanadas. I add about half the beef mixture in a bowl, and then I add 1 cup of shredded Mexican cheese. I like this cheese because there's 3 or 4 different kinds of cheese in the mix, which gives it a nice flavor. And then, of course, you'll mix the cheese into the beef until it starts melting. Then we'll add the rest of the beef mixture and pour it on top of that. Everything is still hot, so the cheese will melt very quickly. We'll add a 2nd cup of cheese on top of that beef, and then give it another good mix so the cheese fully melts into our mixture. The next thing I do is I beat a couple of eggs because we're going to need an egg wash. So you take 2 eggs and a splash of water and mix it together for an egg wash, and we're going to use that to seal our empanadas. I use frozen empanada shells from the grocery store, which come 10 to a pack, and I do use the smaller size. They're great because they come with a plastic layer in between each shell, so they're really easy to pull apart. We'll take 1 empanada shell with a heaping spoon of beef, or as much as you can fit in there, and gently fold the shell over the beef like this. Grab your pastry brush and dab the egg wash around the sides. Then we're going to take a fork and press the edges to seal the beef inside. Congratulations! You just stuffed the first of 20 empanadas. Your oil should be heating right now while you stuff the first batch of empanadas. The timing is important when making a large batch of 20 because you always want one batch cooking while the other batch is being assembled. And since the beef is hot, your empanada dough will get warm and can get a little gooey, which is why I put the parchment paper down. I used to put the stuffed empanadas on a cutting board, but then had a hard time lifting them off that surface, so I switched to parchment paper. If you don't have that on hand, just make sure you have a spatula at the ready to peel them carefully from your cutting board. And be gentle also when pulling the next round of dough from the stack so you don't rip the dough. Don't worry if a diced onion pops out or if some of the juices seep out a bit. It happens and it doesn't really matter. While you're stuffing that first batch, be sure to keep your eye on the heating oil. It may start to crackle to let you know it's ready. And prior to putting the empanadas in the oil, I like to do a little egg wash finger flick test. It's very scientific. To see if the oil is ready, I usually just take a little bit of egg wash on my finger and I flick it into the oil. If it starts to crackle, it's time to add the empanadas. You want to add the empanadas to the oil very gently. This is extremely hot oil, and you don't want to place the empanadas in the oil toward your body where it could splatter and burn you. You want to place them away from your body or slide them in gently as seen here. Once you can see them browning, it is time to turn them over. I found that the first batch takes the longest, about 8 minutes total for both sides, and after that it should be about 4 or 5 minutes total. And again, turn them gently with a pair of tongs. I've found it's the best tool for this dish and allows you to control the empanada without burning yourself. Once your empanadas are finished, you can let them cool on a sheet pan and ta-da! They're done. You just made 20 empanadas. These empanadas are delish on their own with no topping at all. But if you want to take it to another level, you can use scallions, cilantro, sour cream, salsa, avocado, or just make some fresh guac. I made 20 in this video, but you can easily make 30 or 40 if you're hosting a party, game night, movie night, Super Bowl Sunday, whatever. They freeze very well too. I often make a big batch, eat them for dinner, and then freeze the rest for later. And if you have extra meat filling, you can always freeze that and make tacos later. Okay guys, it's time to eat the bite. Thanks for watching, and I hope you make them. They're awesome. I will leave a link to the recipe below, and you'll also find printable versions of this and all my recipes at my website at www.eatthebite.com. And if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Thanks again.